So when Marjorie Taylor Greene was running, she posted an anti-Semitic tweet. She had Islamophobic social media posts. She used an AR-15 to shoot a sign that read socialism, yet she still won a runoff primary with 57% of the vote. Why do you think she won?
Well, quite that's one of those questions where, in the last election cycle, and understandably so, people were looking for change and to shake things up. Um, I get why, people want that, but that's not what Marjorie Taylor Greene is all about. She's not bringing any real change or shaking things up to make things better. She's a chaos agent. Let's face it, pure and simple. She's about bringing chaos, and she's not there to govern. She's there to build her brand. Why she got elected or won in the primary against someone who I think was probably clearly more qualified and capable than her is one of those things. People wanted change. They wanted government to not be stagnant anymore. And we've seen that for several years. But she's not the solution to that. And right now I'm running to give people a choice. I'm sure you already know, in the primary or in the general election, she didn't have an opponent. He dropped out months before the election, and she basically ran unopposed. So I'm going to give people a choice this time, and that choice is going to be between chaos and stability. Between someone who said that 9/11 was a hoax versus someone like me who was serving the country on 9/11, and someone that said Parkland was also staged. That's we got to get rid of these crazy conspiracy theories and get back to governing and doing what's right for the American people. A servant leader is what I intend on being.
So I hear you on that, but she did have other Republicans she was running against in the primary. And I do think for me, it's important to say, though, why do you think she resonated with voters? Because she wasn't a change agent. She was openly racist, openly hateful, yet she still resonated. And you want to resonate in a way where you can get some of the people who voted for her. So why do you think her hate resonated with this district?
So I don't think it's I don't think a lot of people saw a lot of the things that she did that came out later with all of the things that she said about our LGBTQ community, the things she said about Muslims, the xenophobia. A lot of that came out later, after the primary, after she'd already been elected. I mean, I didn't see half of those things. I saw one video where she was making some disparaging comments about Black and brown people, and at that time I sent her a message and said, hey, you want to back off of those statements a little bit and come back towards the center where most of us are. Crickets. Didn't hear anything back from her. But at that point in time, I was trying to help the Democrat get elected, who dropped out later, as I said before. And it became clear that she was going to be our next representative. And so I kept asking questions, nothing from her. But I think a lot of people didn't see all of that. And, let's be clear. She ran unopposed and still only got 74% of the vote. A lot of people didn't vote. I didn't vote for her. I voted for myself, actually, on the ballot. And I think now that people have had a chance to see what it is that she truly is, to see how radical she truly is, I think we're gonna have a different outcome next election.
So Georgia's 14th congressional district was created by the census in 2010.
Yeah.
It's never had a Democratic rep. The area is 85% white, which I think means something, especially in the South.
Mhm.
So why do you think you would be able to win?
Well, I tell you, the people here of this district are kind, caring, and generous people. And I've been talking to people all summer long. To a person, they want real change. They want government to function for them. They want to feel like they're heard in this district. And that's what I will bring to the table. So I think my message will resonate.
So you haven't run for office before. This is your first time in the political realm. So some folks say there's good and bad to that. What do you say to people? You're going to get this thing. He doesn't have the experience. Another person in there with no experience. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I wouldn't say I have no experience. The past 27 years, I've served the country in the Army as a defense contractor, as a civil servant or government official. So I have a lot of experience in government and governing. Um, in Iraq and Afghanistan, I worked on contracts where we taught government or governance to local leaders there. So I learned a lot about it in Iraq and in Afghanistan. I come from a compliance background, so that's very important when it comes to the experience that it takes to go through doctrine and regulations and understand what it is that needs to be done and using best practices. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene had nearly as much experience as I did coming from running a gym. So
I listen. I'm with you on that. So you mentioned your military background. How has your military background informed your politics?
that's interesting. Coming from the background that I do come from, we were always nonpartisan. That's kind of an unsung rule. Actually, it is a rule, the Hatch Act, but we never really spoke about politics in the military and government contracting or as a government official. It's not something we did. We executed the missions. That was our job. And but I've been watching what's going on, and I'm not happy with what I'm seeing lately. I'm not happy with the stagnation. That's not how things should work. For someone who truly loves this country the way I do, you just can't sit back and be silent and let people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, threaten everything that is we hold dear. Democracy in and of itself. She's a threat to democracy, is the way I see it.
So give me three things that you would focus on as far as your platform. What are three things that are really important to you that you think would help the 14th district?
Well, it's three big things: jobs, small businesses, and I lump those together. Infrastructure's big here. Another thing is rural health care. And it's not just three: rural broadband. And a personal thing for me are veterans issues. So I'll give you five. But that's those are the most important things to me. And then if you talk about voter suppression bills, where Georgia was approving ground, now you see Florida and Texas jumping on the bandwagon, and even Arizona. So we've got to push back on that. But those are the big issues that we'll be tackling throughout this campaign. Still early days. I mean, we're only 2 months into this thing, if you think about it. But those are the things we're focusing on, Clay.
So on a national, I mean, I know the area is not predominantly black. Like I said, it's 85% white, but nonetheless, if you won, you would be part of the House of Reps and you would be voting. So on a national level, how would you grade Biden and Democrats so far in meeting the needs of black and brown communities in these first 100 and some days?
The first 100 days, I think Biden's been focused more on, which is an important issue for black, is the COVID relief bill, and that's helped black and brown communities, as you know. So I'd probably give him a 93, 94, somewhere in that average. I think he's
You think he's doing a good job?
doing a good job.
Gotcha. All right.
He's
So where do
extending that olive branch to the Republican Party. He wants bipartisanship. However, they're not really accepting it. Mitch McConnell just came out and said, we're going to do everything to stop him. And that should tell you everything you need to know there. But he continued to extend a hand of friendship. That's what you need to do. Just because something's difficult doesn't mean that you stop.
this area, though, Mr. Flowers, it is one of the reddest areas of Georgia.
Mhm.
Uh, when you think about winning and strategy, are there any conservative elements to you? Conservative elements that would traditionally might resonate with this area?
We just talked about Joe Biden and how I graded him. Like Joe Biden, I feel that I'm a natural bridge builder. I grew up here, basically right next door in Alabama. This is home for me. Yeah, I spent almost a couple of decades overseas serving the country, but this is home to me. And I know the people here. They're good people. And I know it's hard for people to believe, seeing the representative that we sent to Washington. How could anyone in America possibly believe that? Like I said, the people here are kind, generous, caring people. and they want the same things you want. They want good education, a home, send their kids, to college or further. That's they want the same things you want. So we can work together. And I want to focus on things where we agree.
But do they want the same things that I want? I mean, I want voting rights. I want an anti-lynching bill passed.
Mm.
I want qualified immunity ended. I don't want a wild racist, who's following the young man who saw his classmates get shot and killed in Parkland. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, and you're from the area. It doesn't feel like they do. I sometimes feel like when I think of the reddest areas in the South and Georgia, that I'm not sure they're totally comfortable with my right to exist. So do they really want the same things that we want over here?
I think they do. I want those things as well.
Hmm.
And I'm from here. This is home for me. Those are the same things that I want. And the people that I talk to want the same things, but they don't want to feel left out. And I get that. And we're not here to embarrass anybody, but we're going to bring people into the fold. We're going to get this vote out. And you'll be surprised at what turns out. I, I promise you that.
So tell me what you're hearing because you're out there, you're talking to people, you're not just, on major news programs, you're actually in the field talking to people. What are you hearing about people in the 14th district of Georgia?
They're not
From
happy.
people rather. Say
They're
again.
not
I'm sorry.
happy.
Hmm.
They're not, to a person, everyone that I've talked to. And I'm not just talking to Democrats, I'm talking to Republicans also. They are slightly embarrassed by her. They didn't expect this. I assure you of that. To a person, that's what I'm hearing.
Okay. And what are you hearing the kind of change that they want? Because I guess you're saying they thought Rep Greene was changed. So what's the kind of real change that your area of Georgia wants?
Well, let me tell you, they don't want to be living in fear anymore. People think that their taxes are going to be raised, and we know where that's coming from. That's all misinformation and disinformation. That's what our broader campaign is about, pushing back on the misinformation and disinformation. These are, like I said, these are good people. They want normal things. They want to live a good life. That's it. And I want to assure them that what Marjorie Taylor Greene is selling is not for them. She's not doing anything for them. She's not interested in governing. She's about building a brand. I will be a servant leader. That's it. I'll serve the people of the district. I'll serve their interests as well as the interests of the country.